The Xylari had customs we didn't fully understand, though I'd studied their language and rituals for months. One tradition in particular, the binding feast, was emphasized to us, a symbolic union of trust between delegates. We were told it involved sharing food and allowing a Xylari to mark our skin with luminous resin, something harmless, more like a tattoo. But what we weren't told, or maybe what got lost in translation, was that under certain conditions, the ritual wasn't symbolic. It was literal. Kaelith had been my guide during those first weeks. She laughed at my clumsy Xylari speech, taught me how to hold a glass of their spiced nectar without shattering the crystalline cup, and asked endless questions about Earth, about our oceans, our music, even our ridiculous cats. We were close in a way I hadn't expected. So, when she asked if I would join her for the binding feast, I agreed without hesitation. The feast was intoxicating. Their food shimmered with bioluminescent dyes that sparked on the tongue. Their music wasn't just sound but vibration that pulsed through the floor and into my chest. And when Kaelith leaned across the table, her golden fingers brushing mine, I felt the pull of something deeper than diplomacy. The ritual itself was simple. She drew a line across my wrist with a resin pen, and I did the same for her. But the resin pulsed, glowed, and before I realized what I'd agreed to, the resin seeped into my skin, carrying genetic code, mingling bloodlines in a way science would later confirm. I hadn't just shared trust. I'd created a bond that could conceive life. Weeks later, Kaelith came to me trembling, her body glowing faintly in ways only Xylari women did in early pregnancy. "I didn't mean," she whispered, her voice full of fear and wonder. "But it is done. The stars have chosen. Carry life. Your life." My blood turned to ice. A human Xylari child. The first of its kind. And then Lysera found out. The middle, the other sister. If Kaelith was warmth, Lysera was fire restrained in glass. When she summoned me to her chamber, the air crackled with a storm that hadn't yet broken. "You," she hissed, her violet eyes burning. "Do you even know what you've done?" I tried to explain how Kaelith hadn't told me, how I hadn't understood the ritual's depth. But Lysera didn't care for excuses. "Our people's future rests on balance," she said coldly. "The first union with humanity should have been mine. I was chosen. It was decreed by the matron herself." That was when I understood. Lysera hadn't just wanted political control. She had wanted the honor of being the bridge between species. And I had, without meaning to, given that to Kaelith. But what stunned me wasn't her fury. It was what she said next. "If Kaelith carries your child," Lysera whispered, stepping closer until I could feel the heat radiating off her skin, "then so must I. Cannot be that only the younger carries the future. Balance must be restored." I stared at her, stunned. "You can't be serious." Her silver skin darkened, a rare sign of emotion. "You will give me what you gave her, or the High Matron will declare the bond void and the child unworthy. Kaelith's child, our child, was in danger if I refused. And so, under the weight of duty and impossible choice, I found myself entangled in a second bond one had never sought. The conflict. Humanity caught between two worlds. Word spread quickly among the Xylari elite. The human had bonded with both daughters. To some, it was a scandal. To others, a sign that humanity was far stronger than they had believed. To me it was a nightmare. Kaelith, radiant in her joy, clung to me with unshakable faith. She spoke to her belly, sang in the lilting tones of her people, and told me she could already feel the child's heartbeat. Lysera, in contrast, remained stern, almost clinical. She performed the rituals with precision, making sure every bond was documented, every law upheld. But in the quiet moments, I sometimes caught her looking at me with something more complicated. Regret, perhaps, or a longing she would never admit. The High Matron summoned me. She was a towering figure, her crystalline crown shimmering with light from both suns. "You have tied yourself to both streams of destiny," she intoned. "This is dangerous. If one sister falters, the other must endure. If both bear fruit, humanity will be forever linked to us, not by treaty but by blood." And then she said the words that chilled me most. "Should either child be lost, the balance breaks. War may follow. Humanity's future, Xylery's stability, my own heart, all tangled in a web of choices I had never intended to make. The turning point, a threat emerges. Not everyone welcomed the unions. A faction of Xylery, those who despised humanity, saw the unborn children as abominations. One night, assassins cloaked in obsidian shadows breached the crystalline palace. I fought with everything I had, blades I barely knew how to wield, fists that cracked against alien bone. Kaelith screamed as they tried to drag her away, while Lysera unleashed a burst of energy from her own body, scattering light that seared the assassin's skin. Together we survived. But the message was clear. Not everyone wanted these children to be born. That night, in the safety of the inner chambers, Lysera looked at me differently. No longer with cold calculation but with something softer. "You fought for her," she said. "For the child. Would you fight for mine if it comes to be?" I swallowed hard. "I'll fight for both. For all of you." For the first time, her silver skin rippled into a faint golden hue, the Xylery sign of trust. The ending, a future forged. Months passed. Kaelith's pregnancy advanced, her glow brightening with every cycle. Lysera's bond, still uncertain, hovered like a storm on the horizon. The day Kaelith gave birth, the palace fell silent. Xylery and human alike gathered, waiting to see what would emerge from this impossible union. When the child was placed in my arms, I felt the universe shift. She was small, fragile, yet radiant, skin shimmering with both gold and the faint hue of human warmth. Her eyes opened, not violet, not brown, but a dazzling mix of both. The High Matron wept. "The bridge has been born." Kaelith smiled through her tears, whispering, "She is ours." And then Lysera stepped forward, placing her hand over the child. For a moment, her coldness melted, and I saw a woman who wanted not power but belonging. "This one is Kaelith's," she said quietly. "But the next will be mine." I didn't know what the future held, whether Lysera's bond would lead to another child, whether the factions against us would rise again, or whether humanity could shoulder this new responsibility. But as I looked down at my daughter, our daughter, I knew one thing for certain. The future of two worlds had begun not with treaties, not with war, but with a mistake that had become destiny. And there was no turning back.